This playthrough is rated T for teen.
It's exposition time, viewers! Greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare here with a bonus episode to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. What I've got here is a special little treat. Back in the day when the game came out, when you pre-ordered this game back at like certain locations, this particular disc comes from GameStop, I believe. And in 2004, if you pre-ordered the game, you get a bonus disc of the game. And basically what it is, it's the history, exposition of the characters, suggestions, and stuff like that. So this whole episode is just going to be doing the bonus disc. I don't know if anyone's put this up before. I didn't actually look it up, but I thought this would perfect to throw in there in the middle of the playthrough and do it a little early so that way you could get, because we just did the prologue and started chapter 1, let's see what the little disc game guide has to offer. So let's start with the history of the game first, as we look at here. So and I am using a my PC to run this instead of like a DVP player. So anyway, this is the history of the world for those who didn't play the first one or want a recollection. So Eldrith, commander of the company of the Bladed Crescent, was one of the greatest generals of the Sword Coast. But when Eldrith's pride led her to defy the Dukes of Baldur's Gate, the very city she was sworn to defend, she was exiled. Enraged at her dishonor, Eldrith the betrayer and the remnants of her broken army stormed the city walls. They were soundly defeated. Eldrith fled into the marsh of Curlimber, where she was hunted down and felled with arrows from afar. Clutching her wounds as she sank into the muddy waters, Eldrith cursed Baldur's Gate and vowed revenge upon all those dwelled within. Years later, rumors arose of a dark alliance gathering against Baldur's Gate and the hateful spirit of Eldrith the Betrayer, of a black tower of onyx in which he sees and plots. Eldrith meant to raise the city and surrounding lands with one of the greatest hordes of monsters ever to gather under one banner. The company of the Bladed Crescent had returned. But even the best laid plans could succumb to a twisted fate as three strangers entered the city of Baldur's Gate. Vaughn, a human archer, Cromlech, a dwarven fighter, and Adriana, an elven sorceress, each entered the city of Baldur's Gate seeking fame and fortune, though they found only thieves, cutthroats who robbed them of all the gold and possessions and left them for dead. Determined to find the culprits and their stolen belongings, the adventurers began their search at the Elson Tavern, where they were befriended by Avalon, owner of the tavern, who offered them gold in exchange for exterminating infestation of sewer rats in the cellar. While performing this task, our heroes were stumbled upon a small army of kobolds and bugbears camped in the sewers. The monsters were vanquished, but where had they come from? Who was organizing them? A clue was to be found in the crypts of a local cathedral, where something horrible was about to be buried. I like the presentation of this and using the music from the previous game on it and showing little bits of the cutscenes and stuff like that. They did some work with it. Obviously, the DVD and the menus aren't the best quality, but hey, you know, it was a free item with pre-ordering it, so there you go. Investigating disturbance in the city's crypts, our three heroes discovered a dreadful orb with powers to raise the dead. Its sole purpose to create an army that might wreak havoc upon Baldur's Gate. A massive battle ensued, and the orb was destroyed. The adventurers traced the placement of the orb to the new Thieves Guild, the same ruthless criminals that once robbed them. The thieves were led by Xantum, a beholder hiding deep beneath the city who had secretly entered Baldur's Gate using a closely guarded magical shadow portal. After defeating the beholder, it came clear to our heroes that the multi-eyed monster was simply a pawn in a much greater scheme. Determined to discover the source of the evil, the adventurers stepped through the shadow portal. It was crazy how we fought a giant beholder and so early in the game, because beholders are technically like, I wouldn't say in-game, but like mid to high game bosses or enemies because of what they can do in actual D&D. But hey, it's a video game, we can make exceptions. You know, we can beat them at 5th level. You know, it was a cool boss fight. I liked it though. Sorry about that. The shadow portals led to the Sunset Mountains, where our heroes found a dwarven mining camp under attack by wicked drow dark elves. Suspicious of the drow's motives, the adventurers helped drive off the dark elves and ignited a torch to signal for reinforcements. A second shadow portal was then discovered, exactly like the first, only this gate led to the marsh of Curlimber, the site of Eldrith's death. There the locals spoke of a great onyx tower that suddenly appeared one day out of nowhere. Convinced that the Onyx Tower must hide the source of Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate latest troubles, the three adventurers set off to find it. Yeah, sorry about that, because I think the player I'm using is like super old compared to like how fast my speed is, or the DVD not running correctly, so it's like going a little slow and skippy at points, so I apologize for that. So I just have to let the game run, you know, not click anything extra. Our heroes then battled their way to the top of the Onyx Tower, where they found Eldrith the Betrayer waiting for them. Consumed with vengeful hatred over exile from Baldur's Gate, Eldrith proudly confessed her orchestrations of the monster's armies. A final showdown ensued, and Eldrith was inevitably defeated by the heroic trio. But with Eldrith dead, the powers that held the Onyx Tower together began to falter. Our heroes were forced to make a hasty exit through a final shadow portal. As the tower fell, a mysterious lone figure watched from nearby. Had the threat to Baldur's Gate truly been vanquished, or was even Eldrith merely a pawn like so many of those employed? Oh.
In the flash of the portal's light, Eldrith's tower was no more. Lightning rained upon the tower, and flames as if from within. And thus, in a storm of fire and lightning, Eldrith died her second death. But it was all part of a much larger design.
It is done. Eldrith is undone. And her threat to us and our plans has been ended. And the Harper that defeated her, killed. Now we may continue without interference, Master.
Where did the portal lead? It led to a far distant land, far from Baldur's Gate, far from the Sunset Mountains, far from the Marsh of Chalimber, and far from safety. But that is a tale for another.
Okay, well anyway, so that's how that part little ends, and that was the cutscene when you beat the first game, so for those who are curious. So let's go over the characters of the game. This goes over like who we can choose and everything like that. And we just click on one of them, and it gives basically a short description and how their combat works. And it's actually, there's a few of them that's actually quite humorous. I remember some of the jokes in this. Let's see if it's as funny as I remember. Probably not, but hey, let's click on Dorn. Dorn is a massive, carousing, thrill-seeking barbarian from one of the many tribes that roams the plains of the western heartlands. He adventures for the glory of the sheer thrill of it. He is a good-natured meathead whose taste for wine, women, and battle constantly get him in trouble. Dorn is able to use any weapon in all but the heaviest armor. He has the ability to withstand more damage than any of the other characters and employs high offense, slow defense combat tactics. And he's got art and a movie for it, so let's look in the movie.
What drives a man to put his life in danger? The promise of fortune? The thrill of battle? Or is it simply because he's a man? Battle on, Dorn. Battle on.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot how entertaining these were. I don't know if movies like Obvious Entertainment or movies like this would be made today, but it's a testament to the old school way of telling things and trailers and stuff like that. But anyway, let's look at some of the artwork for Dorn. I'm usually a big sucker for concept arts to see like where a character like goes from the beginning, and this looks like it's different. Suit plates that you can equip on them, and I believe the way that they code it is that each picture is slightly different from each suit piece is separate than one total piece, so that way you can mix and match outfits for a character. But yeah, that's it for Dorn. So let's go back to the entrance and let's do Viadra. And as you can tell, most of the movies that they do are a little comedic for the purposes of setting a trailer for the game. I don't know if you could actually find these trailers like on TV or other places. I thought they were only on the DVD, but I could be wrong. But anyway, Viadra Uswir. Viadra fled Menzoberranzan when her family fell under attack by the coalition of other noble houses. Driven by cruel mixture of rigid honor and seething hatred, Viadra now adventures to hone her already deadly martial skills. As a monk, Viadra is quick, hard-hitting combatant who can learn a wide variety of special attacks and abilities. She cannot use a shield or wear medium or heavy armor without training, and cannot use great weapons. However, she excels in speed, evasive of damage, and to specific forms of combat, unarmed and the quarterstaff. Let's take a look at the movie.
Modest, friendly, caring. Vedra is none of these things. She's just plain mean. But I'm not gonna be the one to tell her that. Are you?
Yeah, I forgot how entertaining those little videos were. They still give me a chuckle to this day. Let's take a look at the art book for her, or art section for her. Yep, she's definitely a monk, but she likes to show off her midriff. That's for sure. As all of her outfit, but you gotta go with the theme of the character design. I guess she does have a few outfits that cover her completely. Try to move around as a monk in that type of outfit though. Anyway, let's go to Yusuran, or whatever. Yusuran on Uindiril. The brooding, enigmatic Yusuran has no memories beyond a few months past. He stumbled into the Grey Cloak Hills only to be turned away by his moon elf kin. He carries a great black tome, presumably is his from which he learned his trade, necromancer, a wizard specializing in the dark art of death magic. While wandering in search of his identity, Yusuran finds himself strangely compelled to aid those he comes across. He travels to Baldur's Gate in search of answers from the well-known sage Undwil, but instead learns of the troubles plaguing the great port city. Yusuran is a potent spellcaster who, despite his poor physical combat skill, can grow to become awesomely powerful. As a necromancer who has chosen evocation as a school of opposition, he is very skilled with spells that create, modify, or destroy life force, but cannot use spells such as fireball or lightning bolt. He cannot wear any armor without training or wield great weapons or bows. All right, let's take a look at his video.
What makes something funny? Is it in the subject matter? Is it in the timing? Or is humor simply found in the eye of the beholder? Now that's funny.
I thought he couldn't use lightning bolt. Anyway, it's just part of the joke. Anyway, let's look at his art. Yeah, I remember I used to choose Yusuran a lot just because I like playing as wizards in RPGs. Wizards can't use full plate. Even in D&D, even if they get the feats for it, you know. Well, okay, they can, possibly, but it gives so many penalties to your spells, it's not even worth it. Because at least in 2nd edition, you would have like a percentage of chance of your spells just straight up failing. But I'm trying to remember who's my favorite movie. It might have been Alessio, perhaps, in terms of comedy. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's click on Baldur here. Baldur Goldhand. Baldur is a treasure hunter, a particularly tough breed of rogue, whose adventures for the sole purpose of looting otherwise unclaimed wealth from ruins, monster layers, and other extremely dangerous places. Foul-mouthed, greedy, and taciturn, Baldur refuses to speak of his past and his clan name a closely guarded secret. He has, however, been given the moniker Goldhand for his legendary avarice. Baldur can use most armor and weapons, but cannot use a shield or wear medium or heavy armor without training, and cannot use great weapons or bows. He excels with missile weapons, namely crossbows, and smoke powder weapons. That goes a little slow. He has demolition and treasure hunting abilities such as ransacking, hitting extra treasure off enemies, and smashing open chests for extra treasure. So yeah, if you want a gold farmer, there you go. And foiling traps. Let's take a look at his movie.
Boromir is faced with a classic choice. The girl or the gold? The girl is pretty and would be very thankful, But my, how those gold coins shine. Can a price really be put on a person's life? You bet it can. Borador, you're a bolder man than most.
He is. Well, he's a he's a daring dwarf, not a man. You know, depending on how you view that in a fantasy setting. You know, it's like his art book or art stuff. You know, if he's the typical pit stop dwarf, you know. Although usually in most media they have dwarf being kind of the honorable good creatures, at least from Tolkien's. Actually, technically Tolkien, the first versions of dwarves actually weren't nice. They were based off the old Scandinavian version of dwarves, which were greedy, you know, lecherous, not to be trusted, that type of thing. But then that's how they are in The Hobbit. That's why in The Hobbit dwarves are much different than the Lord of the Rings. You know, like he changed them in between the two stories or something like that, or at least made more honorable dwarves than the original version, or to change them up a bit. But anyway, that one was an entertaining movie. Let's take Alessia now. Alessia Faithhammer. Alessia is a cleric of Helm, the Watcher, the Vigilant One, deities of guardians and protectors. She adventures for the cause of good in support of the Church of Helm and in defense of the innocent, who she feels is her divine duty to protect. She's heard of the troubles in Baldur's Gate when a letter from Huros, her old mentor, arrived at her home in Secomber. Alessia is powerful in melee combat and can learn many defensive and bolstering spells. She can wear any armor, but cannot wield great weapons or bows. Let's take a look at her movie.
Be kind to thy neighbor. Resist temptation. Protect the innocent. Or you're gonna answer to her. Alessia Faithhammer, a truly righteous babe.
I do like the Empire of that righteous babe. I guess it is maybe Borador or Dorn that may be my favorite. I could swear it's Alessia. Maybe it was that look she gives when it's like, you're going to have to mess with her. And she's like, you know. Yeah, let's look at her art book. Yeah, she's got the typical cleric design, you know, where they're basically like kind of mini tanks. Because, well, at least clerics weren't always mini tanks. That was kind of what they were turned into. I kind of like that one. That's very intimidating right there. Is the armor looks like her a sentinel or Durandal or whatever it is. So, all right, well that's it for the character movies and stuff like that. It gives you a gist of what they're about. So, I like that little feature just to kind of talk about the characters. All right, let's look at the hints and tips.
Chris Spear, I'm a designer on Dark Alliance 2, and here are some tips to help you through the game. Remember to save often. There's no penalty for saving your game, and it will prevent you from having to replay an entire level should disaster strike. Be sure to break open all containers. You never know when you may find something useful. Powder kegs can sometimes come in handy. While looting barrels, be sure not to confuse barrels with powder kegs, which will explode when hit. This can do some significant damage to your characters. Argesh uses a charge attack to inflict great damage to your character. You will not likely defeat him head-on. Try sidestepping his charge and making a quick attack, and then a hasty retreat. Continue this cycle until Argesh is defeated. Alessia doesn't have to wait for a healing potion to drop. She can use the Cure Wounds spell and get right back to business. If you're short one type of potion, don't forget that Iseron can always drop potions from his inventory and change them from healing to magic points, or vice versa, with alchemical ore. The auto map can help you navigate complex levels. Turn it on from the options menu. Trolls can only permanently be killed with fire or acid. Remember to use the defend command in close combat. By blocking lesser enemies' attacks, you can save your healing potions for the more important fights. Undead creatures like skeletons and zombies, and constructs, artificial creatures like golems, do not bleed and cannot be charmed, frightened, poisoned, or stunned. You may occasionally run across secret or hidden doors. These portals will not cause the open door message to appear on screen. though you may still open them with the action button. You don't need to spend all your development points on new feats and spells every level. Consider saving them for later use, adventurer. Some monsters are vulnerable to certain forms of attack, such as cold or electricity. Similarly, some monsters are resistant to certain forms of attack, such as fire or acid. Turning on damage text in the options menu can help you spot this more easily. Borodor and Vaedra can take advantage of their stealth feat to make a sneak attack on unsuspecting enemies. Also, use stealth to your advantage by sneaking past large numbers of enemies. Alessia and Borodor can use the Shield Bash feat. Use it to disorient your opponent and get a quick strike on the enemy. Repeat for best results. Be sure to check out the bonus DVD-ROM content included on this disc. It's accessible via your PC.
That was a nice little trip here, and like an actual game designer like talk about it. You could tell he's not used to it because of his inflection in his voice and stuff like that. He tries to, but you know, not saying I'm much better. I've just been doing a lot of, you know, I was in acting and all this other stuff, so I can kind of do it a little, but I'm not saying I'm great, not by any means. But anyway, let's take a look at the gallery. All right, let's take a look at all the like little videos, pictures, and stuff like that. So. There you got a concept of trolls. Yeah, that's my reanimated. I wonder where they just got the orc, pretty buff orc, don't you think? Gas. Oh yeah, gas. The upgraded versions of ghouls for all intents and purposes. And two-headed giants, very dangerous. Argesh. We have for those who are watching this during my playthrough, I haven't encountered this guy yet, so a little bit of spoilers, but nothing too big. I don't think anyway. Yeah, I like the classic look at the troll. They've kind of changed trolls' looks over the years, but I like the whole, they look more like withered trees with long noses, stuff like that. Let's see, you got a splash page art for like, you know, for like magazines and stuff like that. It was like possibly Borodor going in, or not Borodor, Doran going into a keep or something like that. So. Orc test renders. See how they're ready to be animated or ready to be rendered to put in the game. I wonder how long it takes to render stuff like that. And I render videos and it takes like an hour. I wonder how many hours it took back in 2000 or the early 2000s, you know. Luvia's gang, another spoiler for something up ahead, but yeah, she's like a, well, I know what she is, but I'm not gonna say much. Let's just, you know, take a look at her gang, gives you an idea of what she is, but we'll leave it at that. So, Hobgoblin test render. Yeah, hobgoblins are like, they're slightly different from goblins in that they're usually stronger, faster, bigger. They usually end up being leaders of goblin tribes. They're usually a little bit smarter too, so they usually do tactics and stuff like that. At least that's how D&D presents them. So, well, it depends on your game, I guess, but that's usually a concept behind hobgoblins. So, at least in D&D, anyway. Then we got regular goblins. Yeah, there's the spider rider that we fought in the prologue. Did that one have a mustache? I think it's just the way it looks from a certain far away. Yeah, nasty little buggers. Their big thing is all about the numbers. Looks like it's character concept art. I guess we saw this earlier from the from their menu. I wonder if there's anything different from them. Maybe not. I mean, it looks cool in full plate. I always like that, those helmets with that look, with the like the barely visible eye line and the open mouth part. Yeah, it looks like it's just their art pieces again, so I could probably skip showing those off again, because you see them during their art page. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, so I'll skip the other characters because we've seen it already and it's nothing new. Yeah, I like her. I do like, weirdly enough, I do like when people wear like full plate or full armor, because they usually make characters look badass when they get to that point, so. Alright, that's, okay, so let's go with this one. Oh, there's the box concept art. That's kind of cool. Yeah, unfortunately, all we got is basically We got the concept art they initially use is Yasaran just holding a dagger to the screen. That's all they use. Well, I mean, she's cool looking and all, but it's kind of a, to tell you the truth, it is kind of a boring box art that they use, but oh well. Argosiya. Was it going to come from a picture or something like that, you know? No, I like that picture. Oh, is that an arm sling she's got on or something? Hurt her wrist, did she? And there's some bandits. Argesh and Fiends test runner. Yeah, the Argesh will, for those who haven't played the game yet, they're part of Chapter 1. Or the first act, in the regards and what their importance are. Is this all the videos again, or? I think this is some of the trailers or some of that back here, so.
It is done. Eldrith is undone. And her threat to us and our plans has been ended. Now we may continue without interference, Master.
A far distant land, far from Baldur's Gate, far from the Sunset Mountains, far from the marsh of Chalimber, and far from safety.
I mean, I guess it's supposed to get you hyped for the game, but there really wasn't much to it other than just, you know, this fall, you know, okay. I like the trailer a little bit better, probably because I think the first one's a teaser trailer, and then that one's kind of more of a full trailer. You could get it at either game stores or, I mean, sort of online, but it's more for game stores when they had videos. A lot of game stores back in the day used to have videos they play like trailers on their TVs, and this would probably be one of those. I don't remember it when I worked at GameStop for a few short years before it got really bad. Like it wasn't too heinous when I worked there, but I got really bad like shortly before I left, and nowadays. Ugh. But anyway, I think that's it for the bonus disc. So I hope you enjoyed this little, you know, look to like kind of the behind the stuff like people had or stuff that may have been lost to time. I know there's probably people who still have these DVDs around their houses or maybe in landfills and stuff like that. But you know, putting this up online preserves it for people to see. And I hope you see it and enjoyed it. And next time when we go back to the game, we'll continue back to Baldur's Gate and see what quests we can find and what people can run across. So that's it for the guide, and thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.